2, 1. Audio is live. Okay, so right now, if you're looking at this on YouTube and Facebook and Dr. B VIP, you're just seeing a blank screen, and we're starting in exactly 5 minutes. So if you're thinking, wow, I don't see the picture, or I don't see the sound, or whatever, you know, just hang in there. And I do have a couple of cool handouts that I can't talk about because this is on the Ministry of Truth station. Yes. You do anything live on Facebook or YouTube, you have to watch what you're saying in our new administration. 4 minutes. 4 minutes before we can start, and about 20 minutes before I can actually tell stuff that could be censored. I mean, can you believe this? This is really America. It's like, my God. I just saw this one song, you know, about America, home of the free, what I'm going to protect, blah blah blah. Love, and I love my country. I was growing up with it, but this is just freaking whack. You know, that you're forced to have a medical procedure without informed consent, that is of questionable effectiveness. That's about all you can say now. You can't bring up facts and stats and different studies on that. I can't bring up the autopsies either. At least not on the public, but still on the private. And then we'll bring it up in the FEMA camps, by God. No, those are not vaccine passports. That's a citizen's petition to recall all vaccines that contain ingredients that have not been shown safe, by K. Paul Stoller, MD. And this is out of Medical Veritas, 2009. Yes, won't fly, but it's a good article. It's the thought that counts, yes. That's what I tell my family on birthdays. Yeah, well, I was going to get you a present, but it's the thought that counts. Okay, we got 3 minutes. 3 minutes? 2.5 minutes? Any questions that could be answered that are not censorable?
With the DMSO, what you were saying earlier, do you use just the night? Because I just got some, it was 99.9.
Okay.
How did you say that? So you did that with the...
Okay, so a question was asked about DMSO. Thank goodness that's not hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, because I couldn't answer that. DMSO, yeah, you got to get the 99.9% pure. Look for the 70-30 mix where it's 70% pure, 30% distilled water. And there's a couple of ways to do it. In fact, I'll loan you the book. I got a couple of them. One's the DMSO handbook for doctors, and they recommend a couple of things in there. One, it's like a teaspoon of DMSO with a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and about 1.5 ounces of water, and drop it down. Like last night I did my teaspoon of DMSO with some turmeric ground up with some water, which, I mean, it still tastes horrible. You know, 1 minute. Yeah, there's nothing. It's, you know, you're putting lipstick on a pig. It's friggin' disgusting. Yeah, but it's a good, huh?
Have you tried mixing DMSO with MMS? I'm just curious about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not as good of a combination. Okay. And then there's, like, when you read the book, there's a couple of things that you got to watch out for. Well, not watch out, because it's like virtually non-toxic. I mean, it's like 1/100th of what aspirin is, how deadly it is.
I was just reading, though, that DMSO with MMS is not as good as it is with the chlorine.
Yeah, it's well, the chlorine dioxide, when you're using it, you want to have the DMSO with apple cider vinegar. That's synergistic with iodine. That's synergistic. Is it time yet? You give me the countdown? Okay, I'm waiting. Okay, he just says 5, 4, 3. I guess. Yep. Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. I like this quote, okay? If 50 million people say a foolish thing, is it still a foolish thing? Let me bring you back an entire year ago when Huntington Beach said you could not walk on the grass because of a virus. No, seriously. I had to take a picture of it because I knew people were going to say, that is stupid, okay? Okay, so we're going to get into this. Now, a lot of videos, a lot of the censorship is huge now. So I encourage you to sign up and share this. We've been demonetized, shadow banned, not shared. I mean, I get emails all the time. Wow, you're back on. No, we never left, okay? So if you can, sign up for the Dr. B VIP. If $2 or $3 a month isn't an option, because the cool thing with this is if you're on there, share it with friends. Okay, just get the information out because God knows how long it's going to be on. Okay, but it does seem like there's a groundswelling of smart coming in. So sign up, share, let's get it out there. Extreme Health Academy, I totally recommend you get it on there if you've had health challenges. This is groups of people that have found successes. And in fact, I had a couple of patients from Mexico that one had to recover from pancreatic cancer, one had to recover from breast cancer. And this was like 5-6 years ago. And they said currently, if they had the same condition and they got online, they couldn't find the solutions because the sites have been deleted. So this is groups that have those solutions that have been successful. So now we're going to talk about immune system. But imagine if you had the World Health Organization, okay, that said 36 million people every year die of diseases that you didn't communicate, okay? They're not communicable diseases, okay? These are diseases that you had to earn. So in order to stop these diseases, now you got to figure they're not genetic, they're not infectious, they're lifestyle oriented. So if the World Health Organization wanted to help people, this means that if our National Institute of Health wanted to help people, that means that medical doctors and the medical system wanted to help people, you would look at 36 million deaths a year as maybe, wow, let's find the problem. Would you? Yes or yes? Okay, good. I'm only giving you one choice. Okay? So cardiovascular disease, cancer, respiratory diseases, and diabetes. Okay, and 80% of the deaths, the people that are dying from these. Now remember, these actually have causes and solutions. It's not bad luck or bad genes. 36 million people a year dying. Is it from a weakened immune system, or is it bad luck, bad genes, or is it a poisoning? Is it a poisoning? Is it an adaptation? Okay, because remember, this stuff is only coming on in the recent years. Now, I pulled this off today of Worldometers. You take the 7 billion people in the world. Okay, 7 billion people. Now, you can argue that the testing is not really accurate in America. The testing might not be accurate everywhere else, but the most they can come up with is 4,655,000 deaths in the last 19 months from a virus. Now, I'm going to go back, Victor, sorry about this. 36 million, 8 times that, die every year and no one's freaking out. Okay? Less than an 8-fold of that, okay, from an infectious disease, which is still bad. I mean, 4 million people dying is bad. But let's find out. Let's find out. Now, do we live in the healthiest population the world's ever seen? Yeah, come on. No, America's the sickest population of animals on the planet, and the sickest population ever. You're talking half of the population will develop cancer. And this whole thing, I mean, we're looking at 60% of the adults in the U.S. have a chronic illness or disease they will never recover from. They're part of that 36 million that's going to die. Okay, when you look at the 54% of our children have a chronic illness that will never recover. That's a big deal. Yes or yes? Okay, now this situation of healthy people has been brought to you by the CDC. Yes, the Center for Disease Control, which is a mouthpiece for the pharmaceutical industry, which is holder of a number of vaccine patents. They are the gods that are bringing you this. Also, we do have the fraud or fraud and deception, well, anyway, they were called the Chemistry Board before they were formed. They were the liaison between the chemistry industry and the public. It's called the Food and Drug Administration. Now, it's interesting because I have a petition here published in Medical Veritas, and I didn't have a chance to do PowerPoint on it, but it's citizens' petition to recall all vaccines that contain ingredients that have not been shown to be safe. And this is in Medical Veritas. Now, just on the conclusion, if you look in the last, for example, the CDC has promoted flu shots for pregnant women, even though the FDA has never approved flu shots for this use. Wow, so we have a conflict with the CDC and the FDA. So who's really in charge? And you might think that, do you know how many drugs the FDA tests a year? None. Yeah, they're not a testing agency. Okay, so the people that make the ingredients that's going to be injected or consumed by you are the same ones that test the ingredients for their safety and efficacy. And they're the ones that hire or pay the FDA, and there's a good transfer of heads of the FDA. I think he's now the head of Pfizer. So there's, I mean, it's not nepotism, it's freaking crazy. You have the hen watching the house. Now, National Institute of Health, yes, I know, that's the untouchable great God Fauci. You question him, you question science. Okay, except a couple of things that if I said a few weeks ago, it would be labeled misinformation, and if I said it now, we would be deleted, but it's not misinformation. Okay, yeah, lied to the Congress. Okay, so, wait, did I just say that? No, I didn't just say that, but he did lie to the Congress. Okay, Health and Human Services, you know, he's old, he might forget. Okay, AMA, the American Medical Association, in the part that's censorable, we're going to go over this criminal organization. Now, did you know 70% of our young people, and we're talking 17 to 24, are unfit for military service because of mental disorders, obesity, hearing, eyesight, all of these, 70%. So I can understand why we open the borders to get people that are healthy enough to hold a gun. Okay, so what's the cause of this disaster? Okay, I mean, you can't just blame the CDC, the FDA, the AMA. I could. Okay, but you know, perhaps their protocols are off. So what's wrong? Is the entire theory of symptom and drug bad? Because that's how we're raised. You know, take this Advil for peak performance, you know. Is it genetics? Is it viruses? Is it just dangerous to be an American? Chemical imbalance? Not enough medication. Shit, we got to get the drugs there faster. Hell, we're injecting kids at 12 hours old with hepatitis B. Do we need to do it earlier? Yeah, they're injecting the moms to help the kids. Oh yeah, that's going to work out well. No studies on that. So let's look at the immune system. It's involved in every system of the body. Every tissue in the body has an immune system. It has a way to adapt to the environment, okay, deal with pathogens and regenerate itself. This is the most beautiful thing ever, but super, super complex. So let's look at the experts, the absolute experts in immunology across the board. None of these, the BS artists that are saying, I am science. Okay, right. Science is a friggin' discussion. Okay, it really is, because if you look at the science 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, you can look back and say, damn, there were some dumb things that were done. Okay, what do you think is going to happen 50 years from now? You think they're going to look at the picture of don't walk on the grass because there's a virus in the air? Wow, these guys were really advanced. They really knew viruses. You step on grass, it's dangerous. Can you imagine how stupid that is? What about walking, oh, wait, I can't talk about face diapers because this is the censored portion. Okay, Gary Fathom, professor of immunology, rheumatology, director of the Institute of Immunology, Transplant and Inflection. I mean, brilliant guy, Stanford. If a patient were to ask me how my immune system's doing today, I would have no idea how to answer it, and I'm an immunologist. None of us can answer that. Right now, we're doing the same tests I did when I was a medical student in the 60s. They can perturb the immune system in all different ways, measure hundreds or thousands of different things, and figure out what's going up or down in states of health or non-health. Anything that might affect the system, a vaccine, disease, drug can tell you something. Nobody knows how it works. Okay, when we look at Mark Davis, chair of Stanford School of Medicine, it's staggeringly complex, comprising 15 different cells interacting, spewing different molecules, dozens of different molecules, into the blood to communicate with one another to do battle. That's an awful lot of moving parts, and we don't really know what the vast majority of them do or should be doing. We can't even be sure to tell how the immune system's working or not working, why alone it's not working, because we don't have good metrics of what a healthy human immune system looks like. Now, how are you built? Well, for one, you're thousands of generations old. This is a really good design. Human lifespan really hasn't changed in about 2,000 years. If you've survived childhood, the lifespan of an adult is about the same it was 2,000 years ago. This is why in ancient Greece, and we're talking 3,000 years ago, you had to be minimum of 60 years old to serve in the Senate, okay, in order to qualify because of your wisdom and knowledge and experience. 45% of your genetic material in your DNA is viral. Viral. Now think of this. Okay, what a virus is. Now, do viruses go after healthy people, or do they go after diseased tissue? Don't answer that yet, because that's rhetorical. Okay, we're going to cover that. But if you look at the theory of how viruses work, viruses are well-organized molecular parasites, okay? They actually can't reproduce on their own, so some people say they're not even alive, okay? In fact, if it's an RNA or DNA virus, it has to utilize your RNA or DNA to replicate. So does that alter it a little bit? Absolutely it does. And then you have to find a susceptible host in order for your transfer of that virus to grow in that human being. Okay, does that make sense? And so it weakens each successive change, and it changes itself because it's utilizing your RNA or DNA to replicate. A virus can change in response to alterations in the environment, sort of like a chameleon. Viruses are responsible for two critical important functions, variation and adaptation. Yes, it's the virus behind much has turned with evolution. Think of this. So we don't need to have that fear. Viruses are vital for our ecosystem. And in fact, you have 70 trillion cells. You have 10 times that amount of bacteria. You have 10 times the bacteria number of viruses. Without these viruses, you don't survive. You don't live here. Okay, so Andrew Holmes, microbiologist, University of Sydney. Yes, I know it's a prison camp now, okay? He wrote this when they were relatively free, okay? Viruses are everywhere and do not instantly equal bad. No wonder he's in prison. And have the potential to cause very rapid biologic changes through epidemic disease. That's exceedingly rare. Vigilance is important, but panic is unwarranted. They're able to move genetic information between different hosts, but we still don't fully understand how this has influenced and continues to influence the evolution of new species. Wow, so transferring viral information in a system that we're not quite sure at how everything works. I don't think anything could go wrong with, you know, putting, I don't know, a messenger RNA into somebody without any long-term studies. But let's look way back in 1918. Because everyone keeps talking about how 50 million people died or 500 million people died, you know. Well, let's look on the ground, boots on the ground. Okay, so you had a scientist down there, and they had 100 volunteers from the Navy. Now, I know what you're thinking about. Navy volunteers in 1918, they ate nothing but organic and they had very few vaccines. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's all they had. Okay, they were called normal. Okay, so what they decided to do, they wanted to see how, you know, they isolated this bacillus, okay, this kind of bacteria that they found in a bunch of people. So they shoved it up their nose, in their eyes, and down their throat. Not one person got sick. And they thought, man, that doesn't make sense. Maybe they got the wrong thing. So they had all these people coughing, spitting up, and they put the mucus in there, and they shoved that mucus up their nose and their eyes down their throat. I know, gross. Not one got sick. So now it's like, damn. So then 13 of the volunteers were taken to the influenza ward, exposed to 10 patients each. Each volunteer was to shake the hands, talk to the patient, close range, and permit him to cough directly into the face. Okay? Not one got sick. Okay, so now, clearly puzzled, he cautioned against drawing conclusions of the negative results, he reported in JAMA. We entered the outbreak with the notion that we knew the cause of the disease and were quite sure we knew how it was transmitted person to person. Perhaps if we learned anything, that it's not quite sure what we know about the disease. Wow, brilliant, brilliant. Looking for, having a hypothesis, testing the hypothesis, and finding a negative hypothesis. This is called science. In science, you don't do a study to prove what you think is already happening. Okay, you try and challenge that study. Okay, does that make sense? Now, at the time, they didn't know that aspirin, which is currently the 4th deadliest drug in America, the leading cause of kidney disease, increases the risk of stroke, and it is actually very, very dangerous. Back then, they didn't know about it. Okay, and it was actually salicylates, which is the aspirin. The high case fatality rate, especially among young adults during the 1918 influenza pandemic, is incompletely understood. Although late deaths show bacterial pneumonia, early deaths exhibited wet, sometimes hemorrhagic lungs. And they found out that the more aspirin you gave someone to try and lower that fever, even though a fever is an immune system response, it actually damaged the lungs, then they bled from within. If these recommendations were followed, and if pulmonary edema occurred in 3% of the population, of the persons, a significant portion of the deaths may be attributed to aspirin. So medical intervention may have caused a good number of the deaths back then. Isn't that interesting? Maybe we've learned a little bit. Okay, now let's look at the germ theory. Do germs cause disease?
No.
I don't know, that's what they're taught. If you say germs cause disease, okay, then every doctor, nurse, everybody that had any type of exposure would be dead. So this theory of germs cause disease, this theory of people wearing masks and putting gloves on and running around everywhere, okay, is that accurate or inaccurate? Well, this article from 1968, the germ theory has become dogma, but it neglects many of the other factors which play a part in deciding whether the host germ complex lead to an infection. Genetic constitution, behavior, socioeconomic. And now, British Medical Journal, 2004. The biomedical model of illness, which has dominated healthcare for the past century, cannot fully explain many forms of illness. Now think of this article here. What did I just read? 36 million people a year die every year, okay, not from germs, but from lifestyle changes, lifestyle choices, toxicity, deficiency, stress. That's what all those diseases are killing people for. And we're not doing anything about it. In fact, we're actually causing a hell of a lot more stress. All illness has an underlying cause. That's what you're hearing from the news media. It's this Voldemort virus. See, I can't say that. Okay. Voldemort is the name that you should not mention, okay, for those that haven't seen Harry Potter. Okay. A disease is always the underlying cause, so you're not going to look for comorbid conditions like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol-lowering drugs, okay, ACE2 inhibitors, all the medications, drugs, and lifestyles that can weaken your immune system. Removal or attenuation of the disease will result in return to health. We shall remove the offending organ and not look why that organ developed a tumor. Okay? Evidence exists that all three of these assumptions are wrong. Now, what do you think they're going to say in 100 years? Okay. Now, Theobald Smith, about 100 years ago, developed this formula, and this makes sense. You've got the virulence of pathogen, like how tough the bug is. You've got the number of pathogens, so how many, what's your exposure. You got the opening size, so those pathogens can get into the system beyond your first line of defense, okay, which is your skin. Now, on your skin, guess what you got? You've got viruses, you've got funguses, you've got bacteria, you've got all of this. It's called a normal flora. I know, I'm spreading it on the front row. Without this, your skin is more susceptible. So now what he talked about is the resistance of hosts is the denominator. Anything you do to the resistance of hosts is going to change the outcome or severity of disease. So that means if you do anything that improves your health, okay, anything like does exercise make you healthier or sicker? Okay, just checking. Okay, does sleeping good and having a good attitude and less worry, does that make you healthier or sicker? Okay, if you're more worried, exercise less, and stay locked in your house, does that help your immune system or weaken it? Okay, good. So what the hell are they doing with the lockdowns and all this other stuff? So Rudolf Virchow, if I could live my life over again, I would devote it to proving that germs seek their natural habitat, diseased tissue, rather than being the cause of disease. This makes sense. Because when you look at the CDC saying it wasn't exactly 650,000 people, okay, 94% of them had 3.8 comorbid conditions. Wow. Pasteur and Beauchamp, Pasteur on his deathbed said it's not the germs, it's the terrain. It has to do with the immune system. That's everything. Brilliant article. International Journal of Vaccine and Vaccination. Since the case can be made that the approved but improper and dangerous treatment of infectious diseases over the last century, think of that. Cases can be made that the approved but improper and dangerous treatment of infectious diseases over the last century has in large part given rise to present epidemic wave of degenerative diseases, including cancer, AIDS, Ebola, maybe even we might have been spared these miseries. Why? Remember the antibiotic? Okay, amazing, brought to us by angels, helped millions of people. Now we have antibiotic resistance. Okay, that's killing millions and millions of people. Okay, when you look at the interventions, are they helping the immune system or fighting a disease? Think of any intervention you've ever thought of. If it's designed to fight the disease, there are secondary complications that kill the patient. If it's designed to strengthen the immune system, the secondary complication is called health. Seriously, take a vitamin, okay? Does your health improve or decline? Your symptoms may get worse. Like a fever may get worse, okay? That's cool. That's how your body responds. There is no medical doctrine as potentially dangerous as the partial truth implemented as the whole truth. Any medical profession, bioscientist, healthcare practitioner, or layperson for that matter, who wishes to gain insight into the origins and nature of infectious and chronic illness against the backdrop of a marvelous view of life process must consider Beauchamp. Absolutely. So if we have 36 million people dying every year, it's like I had a patient down in Mexico. And I mean, this patient was something. We're talking this and this and this and this, okay? Gloves, of course, okay? And I asked her, I said, why are you dressed like that? And because you got to ask, maybe they're doing it because they're afraid of a disease or they think it's important or what. And I said, is this helping your immune system or weakening it? I don't know. I'm supposed to wear it. Okay, is it helping your immune system or weakening it? And so you got to walk people through this stuff. And then I asked her, I said, well, how many more people died last year than the year before? And she looked at me like, how dare you even question that? I watch CNN. I see the ticker tape. I know what the numbers are. It keeps telling me, okay? And I said, look, 7,700 people die in America every day. And she looked at me with horror. From what? And I said, falling out of trees, getting run over by cars, shot by jealous husbands. She didn't giggle at that one, so I don't know. But, you know, that's what happens. You get 330 million people together in an area, and you treat them like shit, feed them horribly, and drug their symptoms of adaptation, they're gonna friggin' die. 2.8 to 2.9 million die every year. That's what is reality. So if we want to understand the chronic disease epidemic that is the real epidemic that kills 36 million people every year, not 4 million in 19 months, which is still bad. You still got to look at the immune system. Wouldn't the immune system be nice if you looked at those 4 million? Okay? A further understanding the regulatory mechanisms linking the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and immune system is critical for understanding relationships between chronic disease and immune system associated autonomic function. My God, we got to look how the body works. We've got an automatic nervous system. One part keeps you alive under stress. That's the sympathetic. We got the other half is the rest, digest, or repair, the parasympathetic. So your body is in a constant autonomic adjustment of the day. Your sympathetics get up right after you do. And man, this is, your heart rate elevates, your blood pressure elevates, blood supply to the gut shuts down. Okay, then when you're sitting down, you're resting, your parasympathetic starts getting in. When you're sleeping at night, if you've heard of night sweats, the greatest thing in the world for you, because when you're under parasympathetic stimulus, that's your rest, digest, and repair. When you're sleeping, this is when your highest metabolic response that you got during the day. This is when your body is destroying 1 billion cells and building 1 billion cells. Don't worry, we have medications to stop those hot flashes. I mean, it's like, dude, how could you be that dumb? Okay. Physical, chemical, and emotional stress activate this nervous system. And now you need emotional stress. You need physical stress. How do you get strong muscles? You strain it. How do you get a healthy immune system? You work it out. This is why kids who have raised with a lot of animals in childcare around everybody have less allergies than those raised at home in an isolated, sterile environment, like my nephews and nieces. Okay, they're going to have more allergies and asthma. So let's look at the immune system. 2 basic components. Okay, innate, stuff that you were born with, like your innate inborn intelligence. And this is generations and eons of you. This is why Northern Europeans can drink alcohol, because they were raised with it. They have peroxisome in their liver. Okay, this is why Native Americans don't, because they never saw it before. Peyote they've seen, but never the whole fermented stuff. So your innate immune system is brilliant. This helps you survive and thrive on the planet. The adaptive immune system is based on your current exposure. So like, what type of things are you there? And this is why when a little baby is born, I tell the parents, you know, don't inject inflammatory objects in them, you know, because that's not good for them. But get the baby on your chest. Get your shirt off so they can look around and they can see the bacteria and stuff, and get the viruses and get the smells so they know what to fight and what not to fight. Hell, we've got peanut-free days at school. If you bring a bag of nuts on a school campus, you're going to have anaphylactic shocks everywhere. Okay, why? Because we've never seen this many allergies. Peanut-free days at the ballpark. I mean, that's ridiculous. Components of your immune system. The skin. That means anything you do to help the skin and help its production is good. Anything you do that harms the skin is bad. Good. Am I going too fast? Okay, so I know that Pfizer just came out with, or was it Johnson & Johnson, one of those guys, that a sunblock causes cancer. Yeah, and that's what we say. We've told people for years, anything you put on your skin, if you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin, because it's going to get in your bloodstream, because that's really, really bad. No, don't worry. I know you're concerned about the pharmaceutical industry, that they were going to go to jail for that. No. Okay, gastric acid. So this is hugely important. You eat stuff, and there might be pathogenic stuff on there. So if you have a healthy amount of gastric stomach acid, it's going to be ideal. You're going to knock it out. Plus, you need acid in order to absorb minerals. You need acid in order to break the proteins to amino acids. So the stomach acid is really, really important. Can you imagine making a drug that lowers stomach acid? Okay, now we do know proton pump inhibitors lower stomach acid, and it increases esophageal cancer, increases heart attacks. It does a lot of side effects other than lowering gastric acid. Saliva and tears, antibiotic properties. So when somebody says, oh my God, I've got this infection up here, what do I do? I'll say, look, put a hot pack over the outside edge, upper edge of your eye. You've got a lacrimal gland up there. That's going to knock it out. You can get some colloidal silver. That'll help you. You strengthen your immune system. You get some vitamin D, vitamin C. Okay, you get adjusted, restore the nerve supply to it. I mean, that just makes sense, but you're utilizing the natural healing properties of your body. Intestinal bacteria, you got about 2 to 3 pounds of bacteria that protect you, that produce B vitamins, that break down nutrients. It's an amazing balance. It protects you. You have parasites in your gut that are absolutely essential for your survival. Heck, we give porcine parasites, okay, parasites that only live 1 generation in the autistic kids. So it gets in that intestinal tract, grows, and mounts an immune system defense, and this is where neurotransmitters are produced. So it actually helps their neurotransmitter production, and then they poop out the parasites. So you need candida in the gut, but not a candida overgrowth. Bacteria eat candida, they eat mold, they eat funguses, so you have an ecosystem. If you look at Aboriginal cultures, they have about 40,000 different bugs in there, okay? And this modern society, if you're eating non-organic bread, that is an antibacterial in there. If you're eating the chlorine and fluoride in the water, that's going to destroy the gut flora. So there's so many things that are in our modern society that are destroying your main immune system, which is 80% of it in the gut. Mucus, fantastic. Okay, it walls off. It's like a magnet. Every opening that you have to the outside is covered in mucus. Okay, and this is like a magnet for anything, any pathogen. The cells, and the cells are amazing. I mean, we've got phagocytes, and that just means to eat. Macrophages, big eater cells. Now, these are hugely important. And these are what I show people on the live blood cell analysis. And you can even see it in fast motion. You can see these beautiful, beautiful neutrophils going over in a rounding. They'll walk through the blood sample, and they'll surround pathogens and destroy it. The neutrophils, respiratory burst, produces hydrogen peroxide, a strong oxidizing agent which accomplishes destruction of foreign substances and pathogens. So now anything that you want to protect your body with, now think of this. Since your immune system's about 60,000 years old, possibly older, and it's made your entire species live this long, any therapy you do that helps your immune system is good. Anything you do that weakens your immune system is bad. Okay, does that make sense? Can we agree on that? Okay, good. We just got to change everybody else. This is literally, the big honking thing there is a cancer cell. The little guy there is a phagocyte. He's going to go in there and destroy that cancer cell and get ready. This is how your immune system works. So anything that stimulates it is good. The macrophage, macro means big, phage means to eat. It is directly connected to the central nervous system, directly connected to this, to the autonomic function. So if you can stimulate that natural immune system response because you live your life through your nervous system, then your immune system works and then you survive and thrive on the planet. You develop, what's the first thing you develop when you get a cold? This is a clue. Fever, okay? Yeah, baby, hot. Okay, so for every 1 degree increase in temperature, the speed of the immune system doubles. My God, why would you want to reduce it? So what I'll tell patients is take the thermometer and throw it away. Okay, viruses and funguses or fevers are usually self-limiting about 105, 106 degrees. Okay, if the kid is hot and sweaty, they want to cool off, or the adult is, you give them a room temperature tepid sponge bath, and evaporation will cool them. Okay, if they have really bad fevers, you can put some cool cloths underneath their arms, like we did with my sister Lori. Put her in a tub of ice because she had some kind of weird fever that I saw when I was a kid back in the 60s. Okay, increased mucus production. So anything you do that reduces a fever, like giving a chemical, okay, like a Tylenol or an Advil, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Are you smarter than the body's response to the environment? No. So don't second guess it. So what I tell patients is, if the patient is sweating, what are they trying to do? Cool them off. So put some detox, cool them off, put a little tepid sponge bath. If they're shivering, what are they trying to do? Warm up, put a blanket on them. Okay, it's really utilizing observation is the best thing you can do for a human being, because their body is going to elevate a fever and decrease it, elevate it and decrease it, elevate and decrease it. You can do all the other therapies, fantastic. You know, magnesium oil on them, hydrate, Jewish penicillin, chicken soup. You know, when we look, you've got antibodies and inflammation. Now, you're going to hear a lot in the next few weeks, antibody disease enhancement, where you got neutralizing antibodies, but these are things that we can't discuss in the open, in the censored world. Okay, but antibodies are only part of the immune system response. Okay, only part of it. A-gamma globulinemia, these are patients that cannot develop a normal antibody response. But they recover from viruses and bacterial infections just the same way that everybody else does. And we've known this since the 60s. So our understanding of how antibodies work is very, very limited, very limited. Inflammation is how the body heals. And this creates free radicals that can damage healthy tissue. So if you've heard of antioxidants, it's a thing that deactivates the free radicals to make inflammation work. So if you hear that you know, blueberries are antioxidants, fish oil is antioxidants, vitamin C is an antioxidant, or anti-inflammatories, they deactivate the free radicals so inflammation can heal the body. Where Tylenol and Advil, Motrin, Aleve, okay, those things stop the inflammatory process, which destroys the joint cartilage and damages the kidneys. So anything that you do that helps the body's processes are good. Anything you do that harms is bad. Natural killer cells defend against viruses, T cells, B cells. I mean, when you look at this, there's certain memory in this, but you require an immune system response. When you're getting a pathogen exposure, it hits the mucous membranes, those swell up. Your body recognizes it. It goes through this cascade. If it gets into the lung tissue, then that swells up. That's called bronchitis, okay? If that gets deeper, okay, then you have more inflammation. And this is how your body is recognizing, walling off that pathogen and getting it taken care of. Injecting a pathogen, you have a different response. Now, and we can't talk about that. Now, BPA, okay, have you seen the hand sanitizers? Yes, everybody has it. And in fact, when you go into a restaurant, you actually have to, they'll squirt it. They'll have their, you know, their thing up. And let me tell you, this is what we used to do on the cruise ships. You go like this, just washed. You know, it's kind of like, back off, baby. Okay, just washed. And you could say, yeah, just washed. You know, because, I mean, they're actually going to put this crap on your hands, and then you go in and eat. If you're going to put that crap on your hands, you better wash that crap off. Okay? Here. Studies have linked high amounts of BPA in hormone disorders, cancer, heart disease, infertility, and diabetes. BPA lingers on the skin, so if a person eats right after using a sanitizer on their hands, she will be getting double the dose of the chemical once through the skin and the second time by eating it. The researchers say until BPA is replaced with a safer alternative, people should avoid using hand sanitizers. If someone needs to use it, or he or she shouldn't eat right away. Do you see these warnings? Anything you do that helps your immune system is good. Anything that you do that harms it is bad. I know, dude, I'm with you. I'm thinking the same thing, you know, and it's like these are the messages. If there wasn't a pharmaceutical industry funding our government, okay, that needed to make a shitload of money, so they bought all the TV, shows, and they're programming people. This is the kind of information we'd have. So what do you do to have a healthy immune system? Stop screwing it up. Avoid this stuff. If you're taking medications, find out why you're taking it, and then get your body healthy. Vaccines strengthen your body the way you should. Processed foods, GMOs, I mean, obviously, if you're not going to eat this, okay, it's not good for you. I mean, if you watch it was a video series like 10 years ago called Meet the Natives. They had these natives from Papua New Guinea come into our country, and they're looking at this canned yams, okay? And they're speaking in their native tongue, though, and go, God, it's dead food. And the other one said, don't insult them. They're eating it. But they said, it's dead food. So, I'm going, my God, we could learn so much. Okay, exercise. Why do you want to move every day? This strengthens your immune system. It was so stupid to, at the start of this crazy insanity last year, my wife had to use the bathroom. They closed all the bathrooms in all the gas stations and all the restaurants. And what do you do in a bathroom? You poop and wash your hands. Those are both really important to you. Mind-boggling. They closed the gyms. They closed the parks. They tried to close the beaches, and no one would allow that in Huntington Beach or Newport. Okay? You want to see some pissed off 60-year-old surfers? You ain't going to screw with those guys. Okay? Vitamin D, fantastic. It's good for you. It's from the sun. What did we just learn a couple of weeks ago? Sunblock causes cancer. Okay, use coconut oil. Use a hat. Use long sleeves. My arms are darker than hell, and I'm using long sleeves every weekend when I'm on the boat. Omega-3s, fantastically important for your immune system, fantastically important for your brain function. Just had a 2-year-old today with seizures after a couple of injections. And what do? You got to get them on high-fat diets, okay? And this helps. It's been used since the 40s because that brain needs that. Then we're going to get him on cross-crawl exercises. He'll be okay. Healthy fats, omega-3, coconut oil, olive oil. You can get some organic nut oils in there. It's fantastic. Oh, more research on omega-3s. Sleep. How many people are sleeping correctly? If you're watching news right before bed, you are making yourself sick, guaranteed. Okay, and you're making yourself stupid because you're listening to propaganda. Okay, they call it programming for a reason. Okay, so do not watch TV before you go to bed. Lack of sleep is implicated in almost every disease. Why? Because sleep is when your body regenerates. If you're not regenerating, you're going to die early. Okay, multiple sclerosis, dementia, depression, Alzheimer's. Drugs that affect sleep, knowing that sleep is when your body regenerates. ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, diuretics, and you'll see a lot of these things create comorbid conditions that can affect you with the current Voldemort virus. Appetites, antacids, of course, we just talked about that. High blood pressure drugs, over-the-counter drugs, steroids, asthma drugs. It's any chemical that alters your physiology can have a negative effect. Go on, say it with me. Duh. No, we should. We've got books and videos on sleep. There's a thing called sleep restrictive therapy where within 5 days you'll be sleeping through the night. Optimal human function is 6.5 to 7.5 hours, and we teach people how to restrict their sleep to 6 hours for 21 days. Within 5 days, everyone's sleeping through the night, but your body goes through 90-minute cycles where when you complete that 90-minute cycles, your eyes open. And if there's any light source in there, bam, the fight or flight system kicks in and you got to get up to pee. This is what we teach every patient. Every patient here gets this on the nutrition report so they can sleep, so they can regenerate. Every doctor should be teaching them that. Meditation. This changes the brain. It puts the brain in a parasympathetic state. What is that? Rest, digest, and repair. If you're resting, digesting, and repairing at least a couple of times a day, guess what? You got good tissue production. So health is your body able to adapt. It will cause high blood pressure. Why? Because when I'm running 2x4s up the hill, okay, my blood pressure goes up. Okay, if I'm sitting down, Okay, having a big ass glass of wine, my blood pressure is going to go down. So your body is going to adapt. Illness is an unhealthy adaptation. Health is a healthy adaptation. And this is why we put this stuff up. The only 5 things you need to do to make your immune system healthy: proper nerve supply, regular exercise. If man makes it, you don't eat it. Good nutrition. Think of those 100 healthy Navy guys. Sufficient rest and prayer and meditation. It makes too much sense. Now, we're going to be leaving the YouTube and Facebook right now. We're going to be back next week, maybe. Okay, we're going to have the show. Whether they'll put us on, God knows. Okay, but we're going into the censorable portion where I don't think the Ministry of Truth will allow. So I'll see you next week. And now I'm going to put on a couple of the slides